Well, last month, cannabis was upgraded from Class C to Class B, and for the families of addicts, that reclassification wasn't a moment too soon.
Now, William Bell started smoking the drug when he was just 14. It quickly transformed him from a successful student and a lovely son into a moody and withdrawn teenager who lied and stole from his family to feed his habit.
Well, William's here, his mum Debra is here, and addiction therapist Sarah Graham is here as well. And as you're listening to all these folk talking today, and if you've got a tale or story to tell, I want you to get in touch with us today, because they're going to come back later on, and the email address is on your screen now, so do get in touch and we'll put your points and your queries to them later on in the programme. So, William, we know when you started, at 14 years of age. Yeah. How did you start?
Well, I started with friends. I went to a secondary school that was quite far away from where I lived, so I spent a lot of time at my school from about 8 a.m. to about 6 p.m, usually most days. So, yeah, I started smoking at social occasions with them, with a trusted group of friends that I had.
Was that a bit young to start, or was that pretty...
Yeah, I mean, I say 14 is the kind of time I was absolutely the very beginning of experimentation. I properly started smoking cannabis like every single day when I was about 15, 16, going on about the end of my GCSEs.
And was it easy to get hold of? Lots of people doing
it? Yeah, it was very easy to get hold of. There were people selling it in my class. You know, it comes from trusted sources, so it wasn't anything that I would question. I wasn't in any back alleys.
You see, this for a parent, Deborah, is a whole other world, isn't it, Sarah, as well? Because you think, oh, he's going to a good school, everything, he'll be all right there. At least he's out of harm's way.
Exactly, and we did think before we sent him to secondary school, we decided to send him privately, thinking that he would be safe if he went to a good, solid. Private school, and of course we had no idea what was going on, and also we had no idea about the strength of what children were smoking. We had no idea what skunk was. I'd never heard of it. Of course, I know extremely.
Right, so we're on to a different word here, Sarah. This word skunk. So we've talked about cannabis. What is skunk?
Skunk is a stronger strain of cannabis. It's cannabis that's been genetically modified. It's grown hydroponically, which is in water with light, so a very artificial environment. And it's a lot stronger than the traditional forms of cannabis that the older people in the audience will remember. And it's very important that we make that distinction, because most of the cannabis that young people are smoking, unfortunately, is skunk.
So, William, when you take this stuff then, how do you feel? What happens to you?
Well, it's very, very, very strong, first of all. So you get the normal things that you would get if you were smoking something that was less strong, say normal kind of weed. It has the connotations of not being so potent. But, you know, it makes you feel, you know, obviously very high, very relaxed. You're not worried about anything. So much so that you don't actually end up ever turning to school. You have an inability to make logical decisions for yourself in the long term. So you're very much in the short term. You're always thinking about what's next. You know,
and did you ever think forward and think what that could be doing to you?
The more I did that, the more I smoked, because that was the kind of the stage I was getting to, where I was in that kind of cycle where the more I thought about what I could be doing and what I should be doing, the more I decided to kind of go with what I was standing by and the lifestyle that I kind of got into.
And was there a bit of pressure, because you were, you know, you'd made the effort to send him to a good school. Did you feel there was a bit of pressure there that you had to do well?
There was quite a lot of pressure. I mean, because obviously I was at 11, I did all my entrance exams to get into these schools that were so great, that I was supposed to do so well at. And I did feel very, very sick of that by the end of it, and obviously that was a factor in the reason I started smoking.
Sarah, Deborah, sorry, when did you realise there's a big problem here? My son is not, this is not the boy that I know.
Well, we started finding Rizzler papers and little bags of things.
OK, so when you find that, and that's the first sign...
Yeah, that was the first sign, and we thought, well, that's unusual.
So what do you do about that as a parent?
Well, we shrugged our shoulders at first, because we didn't realise the strength of the stuff he was smoking.
So you're thinking... Boys will be boys, teenagers...
Yeah. And it was only about a year later when he started exhibiting quite severe personality changes. All I can describe is that he turned from being a loving son who had no problem and actually enjoyed going to school into a stranger, really. Somebody we didn't recognise.
Sarah, within a year, did it?
The thing is, it can happen very quickly. You know, I trained in the Priory and I've worked with lots of young people like you, William, and I've worked in state schools, so this affects people from all walks of life. And the thing about skunk is it can affect young people very quickly. Young people's brains are still forming, and that's why it's so dangerous to people who are younger.
What I want to do now is to show this advert that's running on television at the moment. Now, what are we about to see here?
What you're going to see is an advert that was aired for the first time last night. It's part of a new cannabis campaign that Frank's running, and it's to draw young people to the Frank website or to the telephone
What is Frank?
line. Frank is a free and confidential service for young people that doesn't lecture young people about drugs. It's not like one of the old school just say no kind of campaigns. It's somewhere that young people can go and they're going to be told the whole story about the drug. So when you see this ad, you'll see that at first, you know, the things that Simon experiences when he lights his joint are the things that young people try it for. You know, it's the things they hear that are good about it. You know, giggly, the munchies, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But then the less pleasant side of cannabis starts knocking at the door.
Here it is then. Okay, let's have a look.
Wait, all right, lads. These parties, especially when they're inside my head, you know. We had a chat with everyone. Hey, Jill, how are you? Everything's absolutely amazing. I haven't seen you for ages. Haven't seen you last week. I mean, you're not invited. Don't I know you? What's your name? Oh, don't tell me that. Tell me. What are you laughing at? A little bit stressed, a little bit panicky, a little bit peaky, a little bit sweaty. What's your name? You're all right. You're feeling okay.
The more you mess with cannabis, the more it can mess with your mind. To find out more, talk to Frank.